Welcome back to the Many Parallels podcast. We're your hosts, Zach and Trevor. And today we're going to be doing a little episode about myself. And you guys can find out more about me and who I am and what I am, or maybe not find any of that out.
Maybe not. Because we done many episodes where I have gotten into what I believe, but you always have a very Socratic approach of, but what about this? Oh,
Question everything. Yeah.
Question everything. Fucking A, now you got the climber out stuck in my head. So, put it bluntly, how would you define your faith, your beliefs in blunt terms, I guess?
Okay, like simplest form of
What you
how
believe.
I try to carry myself is like do good and treat people good. Like sounds real simple, but like obviously that has to be if you want to be good or do good, like you have to believe in the opposite as well. So then that means acknowledging and understanding that bad is a real thing too, and that there are evils out here that exist and people should make themselves aware of just to essentially live a better life, but not any kind of like orthodox or traditional belief or religion that I kind of like subscribe to or whatever. Like I used to be more of like I'll take a little bit of everything and put it together type of deal, which is like a lot of people say that, but it's not really true. Like you don't practice necessarily, or I don't, when I study these things, all these different religions. It's just interesting to draw these parallels, if you will. And there are many of them and shit, so it's like you just try to take out those core tenets of the scriptures or the books and understand that, like, do good, try to do good, whatever good might be, and try not to have a twisted view of good, even though it's kind of fucking difficult.
So then one question I found myself asking, even, which is why I've kind of led myself towards the Bible and shit, of how do you quantify what good and evil are?
I used to like think for a while, I think that good is whatever, like, see, it's weird because like I think like good is whatever does the most amount of positive for whoever's being affected by that thing. But then it's like that might not always be true, because what if the whole population agrees to enslave a certain type of people? Like, well, the benefits are great. Like you're all convinced that this thing is good, but
Sort of like Hitler did with the Nazis.
type shit. But it's like, was the good that they all perceived truly good, or was it bad because they were doing a bad thing to reap those good rewards?
Which is what I'm that's where I'm like
complex.
Yeah, where it comes back to like, maybe there is some truth in the Bible of setting what is good and evil, because, well, how do you personally quantify if society says this thing is good, but in your heart of hearts this is not? How do you justify that then, I guess?
I say, like, it's hard because as like people, you want to go with the crowd, or like the crowd makes you feel safe or secure, but if you realize that the crowd is doing something wrong and you can like take a stand against it, then you have like a moral, I believe, obligation to do such, try to refrain or abstain or whatever from doing whatever thing the crowd is doing, the majority is doing, that they think it's good or they think it's okay, but it isn't, because the highest authority or whatever isn't the crowd, or isn't the majority all the time, or whatever authority figure might be saying is the thing. And that's always been the case. Like, people follow authority, but authority isn't always correct. Most of the time they're not correct. Like, so
there's that calling though, and to me it's like, it's weird because I wouldn't say I'm fully religious. I'd probably say
type shit,
90%, 80% ish. Say 85, cause in the middle. But it's like our language doesn't really have a word for that higher calling, and I don't know what else to call it other than God, because it's something
Yeah.
I can't define. That's
It's outside of yourself.
yeah, it's outside of me, but there is, you can tell and you
But
can feel it
you're
that,
connected to that
yeah, you can feel
type
what's good
shit.
and evil.
Yeah.
Um, so like, do you have that?
I say yeah.
And
I would I identify with what you describe. Yeah.
yeah, so then you just agree that it's like you don't want to quantify it as a god because that comes off to many
It
as a
could be
definitive
it
answer.
could be God.
It could be
It could
exactly, but
it could I mean it is God, like whatever that force is and shit, but I just call it like the greatest good, bro. Like just throw another O in that motherfucker and like God is good. Like they tell you that shit in church and shit.
yeah,
Like it's like this it's kind of the truth. Like and sometimes the good that's at play can seem bad to people, you know? Like that's the truth. Like the good that's at play can seem like a bad thing, but it's really good that's at work there. So it's like you got to be able to have good judgment and like distinguish good from bad, which is fucking hard. Like I don't do it accurately all the time, you know? I
yeah, because
can't, but
yeah,
that's the struggle or the goal more so
yeah,
to be able to have that like sharp mind and keep yourself on point or whatever you want to call that, where you're trying to do good and keeping good or God at the forefront of your thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Like before you open up that computer, before you pick up that phone and open up the apps and whatever, like think about, is this good? Is this good? Is this like you could say is this I don't want to call it god-like or whatever, not like you're a god, but you know what I'm saying,
yeah.
like
No,
is this
God, like as in God would
of
approve.
God, yeah,
Yeah,
like, and or a different way of saying it is it of good nature, like a lot of things you can just quickly come to the determination that like, oh no, that wouldn't be of good nature to do that, like spending time on like scrolling through social media, spending time watching bullshit, I don't know, like it depends, right?
mm-hmm.
Like you got to have a balance, which we've talked about before and
Yeah.
shit. So yeah, I mean I do believe in a God, it's just I don't
You don't know if
know
he's your
what the
creator.
fuck it is. I don't know what it. Yeah, and I don't know if the guy that made everything we can conceptualize, if there's a bunch of them. I don't know. I don't fucking
So
know.
the one time I went to a Catholic church, ain't gonna lie, Catholicism, just the whole, the orderliness of it all felt very odd. It felt it was weird because it was like some of the things they were saying. It was like it felt, I could feel it in my soul, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the ways they were going about it just felt off to me.
Yeah.
But one thing that really resonated with me when he was talking about, and I swear, do look me dead in the eyes when he was saying this. I was all the way in the back in the pews, but he said to me, he said to the crowd, explaining that, people always get confused thinking, Jesus is the Son of God. So why do we pray to Jesus if there's only one God? Well, the thing is, God exists in multiple facets. God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, these are all the same entity, but God exists in a manner that us mortals can't fully comprehend.
Yeah.
So he gave us Jesus to be that representation in a manner of which we could understand and comprehend. And that's, he's got multiple facets because it's a higher being than us, which,
It's like, in other words, like there needs to be a way that we can interpret him.
yeah, and that's what Jesus was sent down to be. But then after watching some of that Exodus thing, I also got a bit confused because God did supposedly come down in human form in front of Moses in the
Oh,
burning bush or whatever.
right.
And whatever, it said like, don't look at me or some shit like that, but he was like
So like
there.
turn your back to me.
Yeah, turn your back.
Hell
But
yeah.
so then I'm like, okay, so maybe he does have some sort of. I feel like I remember them saying
form.
something about seeing his back too, or some shit, or seeing something of him, his feet or something. But I could be wrong. I could be
Yeah.
mistaking.
I know what you're saying though.
So then that confused me a bit with what I had heard before, because that, when the priest said that, it was like that all made sense, because I was always confused, like, so like is Jesus like a demigod then, or like what? No, he's just another interpretation of and manifestation of God's will.
Bro, it's weird, but like I remember like I made this parallel with like the Horus story where it's like Horus represents like light and like the sun and shit like that, but he's like not the first one. Like he's not the original. The original is like what we talked about before,
What,
like
Ra
Atem
or
and
Atum
Atem and then Ra later because it's like they differentiated like him when he's at his peak and shit. So like
and then there's also like Atum Ra, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, like the
combined.
combo, yeah. And then so that's like the primordial like god, like that's like the one god, and then like then you got like Horus that comes along through the bloodline or the pantheon line, and he's like the second coming of light, the bringer of light, you know, the restoration of light to the people, and like that's what Jesus is too. It's very interesting, but like, and they're both revered as gods. I mean, it's just an interesting thing. Like history repeats itself, or I don't know. It's like it mirrors that. And
What
like,
do you mean? Like there's a generation before? I'm sorry, I zoned out a little.
No, you're cool, bro. Ask whatever.
Can you just kind of re-explain that ending of that?
Like the lineage or whatever.
Yeah, what you were doing.
I don't know exactly like who like the bloodline is. I just know that like Horus is essentially the son of people that Atem had responsibility in creating.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like it passed down, and then it fell into a dark state because of the intermixing that happened.
Well, I'm asking the correlation you made between that and Christianity. That's,
like
that's
the restoration of the light of the bringer of light, like the enlightenment to the people, like giving them hope and faith again.
As if the light, you know, was lost to the people, so
the
a message
people,
had to be returned upon
yes,
them.
the people were in darkness. Yeah, like they turned to darkness basically.
Sort of like how people turned to shit. The Great Flood happened.
Yeah.
And then eventually people turned to shit again. And, you know, Moses led the Jews out of Israel, and Jesus pulled up, and all that stuff happened.
Yeah, like it in other words, it's really interesting. Like maybe if they aren't like purposely like constructed or stories to like for like that, they didn't expect us to draw these parallels on, and now we're all doing it and shit. Like maybe that's the case, but maybe like human beings just have a weird common fucking nature in the way that we act, which we do, but then like maybe that happens on a larger thing through time as well, right?
So I feel like those stories, as well as the stories in the Bible, correlate to the saying that I'm sure you've heard, because I hear it thrown around all the fucking time nowadays. Yeah. You know, great men, or hard times create great men, great men create great times create soft men create bad time, and it's that cycle, and that is, well, hard times, they show the light to people because they need it then, and they get to that point where it's like we have light and we need to share it. And then people start debating because they have that free time on their hands. Oh, well, maybe this light isn't actually, you know, the one shining. Maybe it's the moon that's keeping us going, and the sun's just a fucking mirror in the sky.
They start to deviate.
They deviate from the path or whatever, and
it's very interesting.
And that's, the stories could be a reflection of that.
Right.
Even they were written at a time when that, you know, times were going down, and they were like, we need this light once more.
Right.
And, you know, so if you're not looking at it as there literally was, it was God saying this, there was clearly people in the time at least saying it.
Right, exactly. That's very interesting. Right. So, well, how do we get to that point? I don't know. We were talking about Jesus and shit, because like, is he really like the embodiment of God and shit like that? Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, bro, God is like, he's in like the way that, I don't know, the way that Moses like came upon that fucking bush in nature. It's like God will present himself. That's what I think. That's how I kind of understand it. Where like you can just look at the natural world and like see God in it. Not like his face will appear.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's like it's kind of like we talked about before. Like there's like a natural order to the chaotic world that we live in. Yeah, like that's the godly fucking institution right there, bro. Like That's it. Like he gives divine order to everything, like, you know, water and fucking air and land and everything. Like it's random, but not random at the exact same time. Like that's the like the duality to that. It's like,
Well, like he gave everything, that order, but it is the order of things to be chaotic,
yeah,
which is a weird duality there.
it's their
So
nature.
yeah,
Like there's the nature. Like I try to like I kind of believe that. Like I debated my uncle. I think I told you before. Like he thinks the realm we live in is chaos and only chaos, and I'm like,
do not see the
can't
order
can't
around
be.
it.
Like yeah, like order is not only instituted by human beings all the time and shit like that, but like it's natural throughout the world. Like the like craziest fucking thing is like the sun and the moon. They come up every day. You can look at these fucking orbs in the go through the fucking sky in the same path and shit, and like that's order right there. Light and darkness that are getting brought to our world from a fucking thing that we don't really understand, but now like people do understand it because it's just space, and now we understand that there's
But
like
there is an order too. We know, we can predict almost to a fucking minute. Like the sun will set and the moon will rise, or
yeah.
whatever type shit.
But even if we do like have an understanding or a conceptualization of like what the sun and the moon are, it's still like they play an instrumental like role on how we are, like how we exist here, how we're able to exist here, you know? Like yeah, it's really weird. So it's just like that's where faith will come in. You got to have a little bit of like faith that I guess that connection to that thing that you feel is real, that you don't know that all like this divine order, this whatever is real, but like it presents itself as real to you, so in your reality it's real. And you like it's like the thing where we were saying it's outside of us. We have like we believe that, but other people don't believe that, but we only believe that because we know that. Other people don't know that because they don't even believe that. Like it's a really crazy thing.
But then I wonder too because I didn't believe for a while, but it was like I had those feelings that I would chalk them up to some other thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like you do kind of a similar thing because you're uncertain if there is God or whatnot, and you define it as absolute good, which is what God is supposedly. So I then wonder if that's in everybody or if certain people are in tune with it.
Like bro, put it like this, bro. It's like a spark. Like, it's called the divine spark when motherfuckers fuck and shit. So it's like, when you spark that shit, it creates a flame, bro. And then that flame is like your good. And then that good can be extinguished or put out when you're young by bad conditioning, And
yeah,
like
you need to keep giving the fire kindling of
yeah.
the good, the righteous.
And like it's weird because even when everything should be all good or should seem all good, like with the motherfucking story with the Buddha, it's like it even can go bad then when everything should be made for you in your world, and like you shouldn't have to worry about anything, and the worry and all that still finds its way to you, and then you got to do something about it, which is like spiritual, basically. You do some spiritual work or shadow work or whatever the fuck you want to call that. Like yeah, I don't know how we got here, bro, but
well, like, so you're saying like you need to be, I guess, are you saying that you need to be in tune with your spirit to know right from wrong, good from evil?
Yeah, but your spirit is like your conscious behavior almost, bro, because like it's weird. Like you do a lot, like when you do bad shit you do it consciously sometimes, but sometimes you do it like subconsciously, I guess you call it, where you slip into it.
But regardless, I'd say subconsciously you're aware that it's good or bad.
Yeah.
Either at the exact moment of doing or after the fact.
Right.
So, like, would you say that's soul? Like, do you believe in it?
Like, your soul is your ability to not do that. Like, your soul is your free will, I guess. But people don't even, like, want to believe that that's a real thing either. Because, like, your only options are what you're allowed to do type shit. Like, we have finite options and shit. But, like, that doesn't mean you don't have free will. It just means that you have, like, it's like you just described two situations. Like, okay, you can either choose the lower vibrational one or the one that is high, what I would call higher vibrational, meaning that you'll feel better if you choose to do this thing, but you only will feel better if you choose to do that thing if your conscience is working. But, like, you could have a dead conscience. Like, people do have that, I think. I don't know, I can't be them, but I believe they have dead conscience where you commit terrible things and then don't think about it.
So, do you think it's dead or just neglected but could be nurtured back?
Yeah, like, I don't know,
Do you believe that there's redemption there?
because I can't get in their head, but
Yeah.
I believe that, like, even if they're like a multi, like a serial killer or heinous crimes and shit, like, they could come back from that. Like, I believe that. Like, I believe they can come back from that. That ultimately, the only way to, like, to make good out of that bad situation is to give them forgiveness and love and all that shit, even though it's really hard for people to do that. Like, yeah. So I think that it can be, like, the flame can be relit. It's just a matter of, like, the will or the effort to do that. Like, which is the divine thing, like, that we have, like, the ability to give our will. Like, our will is damn near everything. Like, what are you willing to do or willing to not do? It's all, like, will.
So, you don't believe there's any acts irredeemable? You think everyone could come back from, you can come back from hell, essentially. You come back from being Satan and running hell, if you will. You think if Hitler lived, he could have technically came back, if you will. And I just always go to him.
I believe that. Evil. I believe that, like, people should want him. Like, after he did that to, like, 9 million or whatever, it's like, you want that man to be put to death because of his war crimes and shit. But, like, really what you should want is not to fight fire with fire. Like, you should, remove him from society, but not like, kill him. Like, we have to, like, give him time to change or whatever. Like, that's the factor that it will take that people are not willing to give, which is time, because only time will tell. We've all heard that shit. But, like, who's willing to wait around and find out, right? Like, if we need Hitler or El Chapo or whoever to fucking repent, bro, but they're not, like, it takes time to tell, people aren't willing to make that trade-off. They're like, no, we need to lock this motherfucker up or we need to kill this motherfucker, you know? Like, we're not willing to play that game.
But do you share that sentiment of...
No. Like, I think that, like, okay, it's hard to... Like, if somebody just went around my neighborhood and murdered a bunch of people, I would want them to be murdered too. But that's wrong for you to feel. Like, I believe that. Like, that's... Like, you're being an animal. We're not supposed to act like that.
So it's like you feel that, like, ooh, I fucking want revenge, I want retaliation.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where we were talking about where you can sense that's wrong.
Yeah, like, the only time that you're within the right to...
Cat! Fucking bumping this shit.
The only time you're within the right to remove somebody from their life is when they're trying to remove you from yours. And...
I completely agree.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, once you've there's the idea that once you've removed that from somebody, you've taken that right, that you don't deserve that right anymore. And I struggle with that. Like, I don't think that that's, like, the elevated path that the greatest good would want us to take. Like, the greatest good would want us to, like, be disgusted and heartbroken by whatever they did, but to forgive them because we want them to not be like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, obviously. Hate hate the sin, not the sinner.
Yeah.
But there is obviously some moments where it's like, when it comes down to it, if it's your life versus theirs,
That, yeah.
that's when it's like,
Well, even
what is your view
Moses,
on that?
like, he killed that motherfucker in the desert. Like, he killed the Egyptian, and then, like, God forgave him because, like, it was like the Egyptian was gonna go kill his boy type shit, like one of his people, or abuse them and shit. So he's like, we're not gonna be subjected to, like, you know,
Your tyranny.
slavery and shit. Yeah, like literally. So he buried that motherfucker, and that's an example of, I think, what we're loosely describing. That's a loose example of what we're describing right there, and it's like, it isn't necessarily. He felt terrible about it too, from what I understand. So it's
Yeah.
like, that's the thing. Sometimes what's good doesn't seem good. It's really like weird. Like, yeah, he removed a man from his soul from his body, but like, what that might, like, what I mean, I don't want to say definites here, but what that ended up doing is saving a dozen more souls from being removed from the body type shit. So it's
Yeah.
weird. It's like there's that, and that's indefinitely like, okay, that's the greater good. Like, you have the greater good and then the
Yeah.
greatest good. Like,
Because it's,
yeah,
well, when you're put in a position of it's an innocent life versus somebody who's actively a threat, it's like
Yeah.
you need to make that call. That's why Carrie, I think we talked in a previous episode, I think it was on recording with Dan, about like, oh, I don't have the balls or whatever to do it or some shit along those lines, like,
yeah,
and it's like, yeah, I don't want to fucking kill somebody. That is the
Yeah.
last fucking thing I want.
right,
But if somebody's trying to hurt me, or even worse, my girl, it's like, I don't want that to happen because we have done nothing to put ourselves in such a situation.
yeah,
So to have our life taken from us, just have some sort of
unfairly, bro. Yeah,
have some sort of defense from that, I guess. And it sucks that that's the world we live in, but there is chaos, and you never
Right.
know what might happen. So.
right, yeah, and like, like if you had that gun on you and you stopped that guy or whoever from doing that before they end up hurting a bunch more people, yeah, that's essentially what is the fucking phrase. You got to crack a couple eggs to make an omelet, bro. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, those are some good eggs. You could have done a couple different things with them, but somebody wanted the omelet. They got put to good use, and now the person's satisfied, bro. And like, that's all you could really ask for. So like, it's a greater good that you're doing a thing that is perceivably bad for. So I believe that, I guess, too. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
'cause
that's a real thing.
If innocent lives are at hand, well, somebody is actively deciding, I'm going to do that. And, once you decide that, you are forfeiting your innocence.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Which your innocence is your protection from such acts.
Right.
But obviously, if they're not armed, they're trying to do some with a knife or some shit, and there's a bit of range, always I would, try to de-escalate. I don't want to fucking shoot somebody.
Right.
Nobody should want to fucking kill somebody.
Right.
But like,
Well, yeah, like if you are itching to kill, then that means like your conscience might be like turned off or whatever. Like your flame might be kind of extinguished or crooked, bro, for
Yeah.
lack of a better term.
it's like if you have to do that, like fucking it, and it's fucked because like as a guy, I feel like I have to bear that burden. And I'm curious on your take on the responsibilities of being a man, I guess.
Yeah.
But just to finish this point of like, as the male, it's like, if I'm with her and some shit happens, I don't know if I'd be able to necessarily live with myself all that much if I had to take somebody's fucking life. But I would rather deal with that than have to have her deal with that.
Yeah,
So,
I get that.
yeah. But what is your thoughts on the responsibilities of being, I guess, a man? Because I feel like it's not talked about often in society, but I feel like there is more weight put on the shoulders of being a man because you don't get the option of, oh, you could have a career, you could be a stay-at-home mom. It's like you have you have to go get it.
Okay. Your responsibility as a man, bro, is to like take care of business, like whatever your business might be. If
Does
you
that
got-
impact your faith at all, I guess, and like the the correlations of
Oh,
that and
I
how it
hate the
dictates
idea
anything
that
with that.
like I look at this all the time with like people that I follow with like different endeavors that I'd like to do, where
Hmm.
like I look at them like what I understand as like selling out or giving up their morals or principles that they like I know that they had, and then like they're not gonna make clickbaity shit. They're not gonna uh, do scripted shit. They're not gonna uh, act hype in their videos. All these different little things, you know, and then they end up flipping that switch and
Well, I feel like it depends because, okay, for the intro shit, I get loud and excited, and probably will for the outro too.
yeah,
But it's different because I am genuinely excited about what I'm doing.
right. That's what I mean. Like
So
if it's genuine, and then, but that's where it's hard because you just have to take it at face value at that point if you want to, because you don't know if they made a genuine change or not. You just you're just it's what you're getting fed. You know what I mean?
I
Like
mean,
so
they say real recognize real.
type
So
shit. But that's what I mean. Like if they used to not do that and then they started doing that, it's like it makes me question why did you start doing it all that? But like anyway, I don't know. It's conflicting
see,
sometimes with like business can obviously that's just a light example, but
yeah.
like business can be compromising of morals a
See,
little
you
bit.
can view it that way, but you could also see it as they got to a point where, wow, I don't have to work a fucking 9 to 5 anymore. I can just do this shit.
Yeah,
Hell yeah!
yeah.
So they're way more excited to go to work, and it's still work to do all this shit,
Right.
but they're more excited about it, so they have that higher energy, and maybe they now have time to script videos too, and they don't see it as, oh, I'm scripting videos to be more robot. Because
Right,
I think of it
yeah.
too of like, you could script videos because it's like I want to make better content for the people that support because I
That's what they
also want
say
to
too.
articulate my
Yeah.
points better because we do this off the cuff and I
Yeah.
suck at articulating.
I mean, yeah, like I feel that too.
So it's one
It
argument.
can help, yeah, like it is a real thing. It's just like you're right, you're right. It's just I just be like questioning it like how did you like for so long not exhibit that behavior and then you switch and then your content is all good still, but like you just act differently and I wonder if it's like for money and shit or like let's say another thing like they'll be like I disagree with like obviously I'm really into trading cards and shit. We'll
Mhm.
get into that, but like, motherfuckers would be like, I hate this brand or I hate this whatever. Then they go and get that shit. Like, how are you a hypocrite like that?
Yeah.
How do you directly contradict yourself? How do you say that that's an unreasonable price for that, but then, you list shit for that, or you then go on 2 weeks later and say go back on your word and shit. I don't know. Not that I'm taking advice from them. It's just inconsistencies that I notice
Yeah.
where I'm like, okay,
But see, it's a weird thing too of well, people can change and they
yeah,
can change their
yeah.
opinions over time.
You got to leave room for that.
Yeah, but then no, I get what you're saying. So to tie this back to the question, I guess, would you say that I feel like more so as a guy, I can't speak for women.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not
we
a
got
woman.
off that.
Yeah, but to tie it back in of the responsibilities of wanting to provide for yourself for women and be in that hierarchy kind of thing, as men you want to be at the top of the pyramid, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
Would you say that that leads to temptations of selling out because I could do this easier, I could get this
Yeah.
cheat to get to the
But,
top quicker?
The temptations of quick money, fast money.
Like, do you think we're
Yeah.
more susceptible to that because of that,
because of the pressures type shit?
and because of that's put on being
Yeah.
a guy, if you will, a man?
It definitely is, bro. Like I don't like identify with that at all. Like I don't give a fuck about getting to quick money and shit like that.
Mhm.
But like I know that that's a real thing and shit, and but I don't feel that. Like I don't feel like, man, I gotta get my bread up for like to get like whatever. Like I just get my bread up, fucking make sure I'm working, aka not being a bum, and try to be good about my spending and managing my fucking funds and shit like that so that I can do something with my extra money, aka invest it into something, and then
Yeah.
hopefully turn that like what business I have with that into an actual business. You know what I'm kind of saying by that?
So,
Yeah.
do you believe a man should be a provider, I guess, for his family?
You should just be a, what do you call that? Like a creator or a producer. Yeah. Like a provider, a producer,
Yeah.
same thing. Like, that is your fundamental purpose. I feel like as a human being, but men and women in different
Yeah,
ways,
in different
you know?
ways, but
Yeah,
as a man,
definitely.
it's like, say you have a family and shit,
It's to
and
make something of yourself.
well, say you have a family and they've gotten comfortable to a certain amount of a certain style of life, you know. Say you're
Right.
a YouTuber, you're big or some shit, and it's like I'm losing subscribers, and I could sell out, and I could maintain this
Make
life
kid,
for my
yeah, make
family,
kid content or
and
something.
suck,
Yeah.
you know, suck down my pride or whatever. I guess it wouldn't even. Would it be your pride though? Is it your pride if it's your authenticity of who you are as a person? That's a good question. Of
I call it, like, that creates like mental fucking disorders in like influencers and shit where they change for like content or because of something happened or whatever, like backlash maybe, but then like that just, like, you can assume a new identity anytime you want, but it's like, do you actually believe that? Like, that's the hard part. So like, it depends on you as the individual, right?
well, okay,
Like,
so I guess
you got to be real. It's
here's
hard.
a possible example. I guess hopefully not. But my idea with if we ever have advertisers hit us up, I only will advertise. I'll do like one ad read at the beginning of an episode, maybe one at the end as well, and I will only advertise products that I either use or see the value in if it's not something necessarily for me
Yeah.
and know somebody who will I trust who will vouch for it type shit. Not just gonna be like, oh yeah, buy this brand of fucking pen. They fuck unless I use this pen. I would never do Raid Shadow Legends. Fuck that game. Um, but say get to a point financially where it's like this is our main source of income, and well, I have to pay the bills for my family and shit. I
Yeah.
need to put food on the table, and we're not getting as many views. So if we did some ad reads, we get a lot more. Do you think that that is understandable, or do you think you still at that point should not compromise your, I guess, your
Okay.
family's well-being and such?
It depends.
Should you
Like,
wade through the storm?
okay, like it depends. Like, if you threw another ad read in there, as long as you're not taking away time from them, like the viewers, the people that you're providing for, um, no, like, you're good. Like, you're just you're just adding on to what already exists for yourself. Like, what are you gonna just cap your company? No, like, you're gonna keep building. So as long as you're still providing adequate, perhaps if they have to like go through more unnecessary bullshit like that, then you're like giving them a little extra, maybe, I don't know, incentivizing them to stay around type shit. But like, at the end of the day, no, like, I don't think that that would be immoral or compromising of your integrity.
But even if it means, you know, how you kind of said, making videos on things maybe, because I can't think of any YouTubers off of name because I stopped watching them when they did this.
Yeah.
But it's like they'll make different content for, you know, maybe they were making videos for, fuck, I don't know, Halo, I guess. I like Halo, so it's a fuck game.
Right.
Maybe they're making videos for Halo, and all of a sudden, oh, well, Halo Infinite's kind of ass, so now they're making videos about Fortnite. That's a popular thing.
Yeah, okay.
So, and maybe they weren't really into it, but it's like that's what's getting fucking plays. That's what's getting clicks, and they need to provide for their family still.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think that is
that does
too
happen
far,
to
and that's a
people, bro.
compromise
Yeah.
of who you are, or do you think it's understandable because they have a family and they're still providing
that,
content?
That happened to Tifu. Have you heard of Tifu?
No, I have
So
not.
he's like, he was before, like, a few months ago he retired or suffered a really terrible case of what people call burnout.
Yeah.
And he like went on camera, bro, and gave a really good half hour whatever video, kind of getting emotional and shit about how his burnout feels for him and how like Fortnite like gave him everything, like, from tournaments and meeting people and every community subscribers, money, whatever, like providing for his family. It did all that for him. But it got to a point where he didn't like playing it, but had to get on for 6 hours every day, 5 hours, whatever. And he explained that someday, like some months, the streaming contract required you to do more than a regular full-time job, so you had to do like
Damn.
50 hours to 60 hours sometimes of streaming a week, and that's like a one-way ticket to how to get burnt out.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it just, he explained that he couldn't do it anymore, you know, like, I gotta walk away from it. I don't know if I'll be back. I'm gone indefinitely, but like, it's for my own mental health at this point. Like, I couldn't deviate off of, like, he's like, I like playing other shit, but because this was my main bag, I had to play this game for 6 fucking hours.
Yeah, there's plenty of YouTubers I watched, and I can't think of any names because I was back around 2016-ish when I was super into either Overwatch or Siege. It was one of the, maybe it happened a couple times, but there's YouTubers who, they only cover this game. Every update, here's the patch notes, and here's this, and this is super meta, and it's like, I feel like I can remember a few of them being like, I'm burnt the fuck out. I'm taking a step back for like a few months. Might come back. I'll cover if there's like major fucking huge updates or anything.
Yeah.
But like I want to play other games.
Right.
I might even upload videos about doing some of that shit, and I just want to not do this game full time.
Yeah.
My life revolve around it. So.
And I do wish that, like, I do think that it should be more like optimal for these people to play whatever the fuck they want.
Dude,
I know a lot of people can, but a lot of people fucking don't. Yeah.
Like, I'd be down to, have some live streams of us playing some shit, shooting the shit, hanging out, whatever.
I definitely would do that, yeah.
Like, I would never want to do that full time because you get that one game that's your niche, and then it's like, you have to be to that.
Yeah.
Or there's cases where you get something like, I hear, you watch Game Ranks at all?
No.
That's like my main, like, big game YouTube channel I go to is Game Ranks. And
what do they cover?
They do the, like, before you buys and shit, and they'll cover news. They drop a video a week, which has got to be a lot. 3 hosts, whatever. But one of their hosts has a side show, Jake Baldino.
Okay.
And I watch some of his shit, too, and he'll talk about how, there's some games he wants to play, but he's got to get reviews out for Game Ranks, and there's so much shit that he's got to fucking play and test that he's got to give his time, so he can't play what he wants to all the time.
Right, it's a job.
Yeah, it literally is a job. So then I'm like, maybe I don't want to do that full time, just gaming all the time. I would like to, we're going on stream or some shit, fucking many parallel game stream, but
you want, like, the people that have it the best are these, like, lifestyle streamers, bro. That, like, they just do a podcast, a fucking live stream, a vlog, whatever, and like the same million people fucking go to that. It's weird how they come about. Like, they just pop up throughout the years, and it's like another one and
you
another one.
You gotta be doing shit that's interesting, and you have a personality that clicks. I don't be doing shit, so
that's what I'm saying. It is very hard. Like, it makes you think about what you can provide to the world. You're like, what can I do? Like, what can my service be? What can I, like, what is my calling? Like, there's like more tangible things, like, reselling shit or fucking making art or whatever, where like anybody can do it, I guess you can call that. But like, yeah, it's just like,
anybody can do it, but only you can do it your way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how are you bringing shit to people? What are you curating? You know what I mean? Yeah, like, and it's all those W's, bro. That's like a core tenet of my being that my father, like, put into me when I was fucking, I don't even know, a young boy, bro, like 6 years old. He's like, just ask who, what, where, when, why, and like, that's probably where I get my Socratic nature from, is like the 5 W's always being in my head, like, and that got me into a lot of principal offices and shit too, because that, like, it's a very like, you can just think a lot on all of that, those 5 things, on if you apply them to whatever. And like, Yeah, so it can make it keeps your mind fucking busy, and it's really helpful for wanting to figure anything out or get a better idea of anything. Anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Five W's.
Yeah, it's important to accept that you don't know everything, to question shit
Yeah,
and look
exactly.
at all possible avenues and
And
whatnot.
I'm giving that advice to like a lot of people that are in like tough spots, and they're like, that's really like crazy. Like that's like a puzzle piece that goes into everybody's life that they could use that they don't know that they're missing. You know, like, oh yeah, I could always use the five W's. Like, for sure, bro. It's just a tool and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it is definitely one you need to use often.
Type
That's
shit.
literally the Socratic method, if you will. Fucking
Yeah.
ask shit, wonder,
Wonder,
never
bro.
stop
Yeah.
wondering. Um, Fucking A. We were talking something about content creators. I feel like I had something to say, but I didn't want to cut you off because you were making a good ass point
Oh,
there.
okay.
Um, and a good thing to share. Something about
Morals. I know we were talking about that.
we were talking about morals, content creation, and
What we were playing, or not we,
I
but
guess finding your niche. I think I want to go
Yeah.
somewhere about that. Of
it's what you can provide and
what,
shit.
yeah, what you can provide. And figuring that out is fucking difficult, but get out there and try shit. You know.
Right.
Um,
That is like that's an important thing that I haven't acted on enough. Like I've spent too many days, too many nights just not getting into things
Just
that
existing.
I could be. Yeah, and you know, you could call that like you're separating yourself from like your like what you've been attached to or whatever, but that's not always like it can work inversely too, like where you are too not into things. So yeah, get into shit, do shit, and I'm trying to put that more into effect in my own life because not trying, I am putting that into effect into my own life because trying is like the opposite of fucking doing or whatever. It's like
do or do not. There is no try.
right type
Like,
shit.
do you
Like
fucking watch Star Wars,
tries
bro?
and tries like yeah, it's an illusion. Oh, what's that from? Like
And do or do not. There is no try. It's a quote Yoda says to
oh
fucking
okay,
Luke.
that's my boy right
I had a
there.
poster of that on my wall as a kid just because my parents saw Yoda and got me the poster. But yeah, that
Alright.
quote stuck with me, obviously, and it's a popular quote from dude, anyways. But and that's the thing. It's fucking I quote them all the time. Actually, was doing some research for this for a different video we'd potentially do later.
Okay. Yeah.
Color Morale, but fucking I quote them all the time because fucking one of my favorite bands and a lot of their lyrics are inspirational. You know, we all fail, but we're not all failures. Um, you know, be determined to fail. You don't have to live like this. And that line, I always thought was kind of like the way it's phrased sounds dumb. You know, be determined to fail. We don't have to live like this.
All that fucking shit sounds corny until you actually think about it.
Yeah,
Like,
and then
people don't get that
I
part.
forget who the fuck I was watching yesterday. Oh, it was fucking Tim Pool. He
Oh, okay.
made a video.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of talking about how, like, you are gonna fucking fail. And like, this is something that, like, I knew, but I don't know why it correlated with that lyric and made it click more. But just like, you're gonna fail. You're gonna go out there and you're gonna fucking fall on your face. He used the example of like, because he skates or whatever, of going down the half pipe for the first time and looking down. He's like, you're gonna fall on your fucking face. You're gonna get hurt. That's life. You just get up and keep going.
Right.
And that's honestly some of the best fucking advice ever. If you're thinking about, hey, this would be cool to do. Oh, I would kind of like to. Just do it, man. Just do it.
Right.
And if you eventually at some point find out, this isn't really what I like, well, you will have learned, I like this aspect of this, but I didn't like this so much. So you can make a better educated guess in the future to pursue what it is that you want, and you can achieve your dreams sooner.
Right. And there's like two other key points too. Like one, and they connect. And the first one, it has to be first. Like you have to get out of your own head.
Definitely.
A little bit, like, or a lot of it, depending on where you're at. Like, you got to be able to get out of your own head enough to be willing to like do stuff. You know, get into whatever it is you're doing, and be adventurous and shit like that with whatever you're doing. And then the second thing is find people, which the first thing will help you with. You know, if you get out of your own head a little bit, you'll
It's
be
a
able
lot
to
easier to
find more
socialize
people.
and to
Yeah.
find people. Yeah.
So those two things will help a lot too with whatever you want to do, because the more I do that, like meeting more people, connecting, networking, if you will. Networking is more when you actually got business going on, I feel, but like that, like the parts are aligning for that to happen. Like
Yeah.
I have people that are into different things that I know that I could connect with, and then create business ties out of such things. So it's like
Create
that
business ties that not
benefit
only
each other,
are,
bro.
business shit of it's making money, but it's something that you still enjoy doing and you get to something
Right.
you're passionate about.
Right. You could like, yeah, exactly, have a good time with, like, and it won't always be a good time, but like
It
it'll
won't.
be something that will hopefully invoke or give you purpose, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, invoke purpose in you, which we all need that shit. Like, I believe that's a belief of mine. I could call it something that I know, but like, believe that if you want to head a yeah.
Well, the just fucking get out of your shell, get out of your own head with it. Well, fucking A, when I ran into you, this podcast started, when I initially pitched the idea, or was thinking about it even, I was like, oh, he's not going to go for it or whatever. But I was like, just fucking, if he says no, whatever. It's something I was like, I kind of want to do again because I, was sitting around fucking not doing shit, just learning about random things, and it was like I kind of want to be able to share this somehow. And we were having a deeper conversation, and I was like, oh, this has potential, and I just, fucking, you miss 100% of the shots you don't shoot, as they say.
Right.
Um, so just fucking do it, and shit don't work out, whatever. And there will be some bullshit, straight up. Like I don't know shit about video editing or all this. I've just kind of been fucking figuring shit out, and that's probably why the audio sounds like horse shit on some videos, because I'm just kind of going with it and trying to figure things out as I go. And it's
Right.
difficult and it's stressful, but it's worth it because I enjoy doing this fucking podcast and, getting together, talking about shit, and just
You're
doing whatever.
you're having fun, like playing with your creative part of your fucking spirit, bro, and like being a productive individual. Like,
Yeah, and
yeah.
there will be some bullshit, and you will fail sometimes, and it'll be frustrating, and that's another reason why it's a good reason you want to socialize and you want to find somebody else to do shit with, because I've definitely had times where I feel kind of down after an episode goes shit, something doesn't record, and you're always like, oh, it's fine, well, just getting our reps in. I remember you saying that, and
Right.
that stuck with me.
Yeah, like, just try to contribute some positivity to the situation that can be a little bit, gloomy. Like,
And it's a lot more difficult to do that when you're on your own, so that's why
Right.
you want to
like
have...
it is. It really is. Like if here's the thing too. Like, you might have people around you that are not necessarily interested in all the things that you're interested in, but they like at least try to get opinions or point of views or whatever. Be willing to ask people what they think of things if you need to, because not everybody has that critical ability to be critical of themselves and shit like that. And
yeah.
I can even struggle with that.
There definitely is a thing of, you want to communicate with people, but you need to find certain people you can be like, hey, what do you think about this, that you kind of trust their judgment.
Right.
One song I used to listen to all the time when I was super fucking depressed, 3% by Hobo Johnson.
Okay.
And in that song, he says, don't talk to your friends, or like, don't talk to your family, friends, some shit. Talk to your friends. Their opinion holds so much weight, and it doesn't make sense. Oh, yeah, and then he says, even your family, parents just don't understand. All that kind of shit to say, like, because that song is all about how the odds are against you if you're trying to do a creative endeavor. For him, music, obviously.
Yeah.
You'll make $1 an hour, at least you'll like your life.
Facts.
But, like, your friends, they don't always have the same outlook, I guess, on life and on your creative endeavors, so they might not be the best opinions to talk to. especially, in some cases, you talk to your parents and like, oh, fucking don't waste your time with that. Go get a real job or some shit. It's like,
Right.
do what you're passionate about, and you do probably got to work a real job on the side, something you can manage, but still go and get your shit and pursue that primarily. You know,
Right.
if there's something you want to do, it's like, oh yeah, I could put all my effort into getting a raise and getting to be manager at this place, but I don't really want to fucking do that. Or I could put all my time into fucking, making this sick ass song and doing all this shit
Yeah.
and fucking, I'm gonna put my effort into that. And you need to just,
Well, it's really
if
interesting,
you want to
bro.
get it.
I'll really like put it like this, bro. Like I remember talking to a couple of the homies back like a few years ago about this shit. Like we're all working for somebody else, bro. Like we're not like we think we're working for ourselves, like because we're just at a normal job or whatever that we got and like whatever. But obviously like we're a part of a thing that is being like a company that was opened up by some dude and like he has a bunch of people there making money for him. We're all like he's elevated himself to a level of a producer, bro, where he's produced this company that is making him money with all of us as his fucking henchmen, bro. And like basically you just want to figure out how to work for yourself. That's my point.
Well, I mean, so I
And
will say though, like you can be happy working for somebody else. Say your
yeah.
passion doesn't need to be something you monetize necessarily.
Right.
If it's not something like that, but
if you don't desire it, yeah.
if you don't desire that, but if you desire, I want to do this full time, and nothing else, and you can find a way to monetize it in some way and do what you want for a living, as long as you are providing value of some sort.
Right.
And it could definitely be argued what we're doing, oh, it's fucking, you're just two idiots talking on fucking the internet or whatever the fuck. There's no value in that, but I watch a bunch of fucking big chimps online talking about dumb shit, and
it's a real thing.
yeah, and
It happens.
It provides value to me, and if it provides any sort of value to you, it can provide value to somebody else.
Right.
So remember that and get your shit.
Just do shit. Just try to do shit. Hell yeah.
Started this talking about having faith, but gotta have faith in yourself too.
Yep, and work for yourself. Like just whatever work you gotta put in, just know like it's for yourself, but it's for yourself so that you can be connected to other people in different ways, whether that's providing for them, caring for them, literally like in a direct sense if they're your loved ones or whatever. But yeah, okay, go ahead. On to the next shit, bro.
Well, so just saying, you gotta have faith in yourself with it, but you also need to admit that there is a good, because some people can take faith in yourself too far, and then you get how we were talking about earlier, sellouts and shit.
Right.
So it's a weird thing. And I got a couple quotes I was just gonna ask your opinion on.
Oh, cool.
And they're from one of your favorite people. So,
oh boy.
Knowledge becomes evil if the aim be not virtuous. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, like I guess I gotta figure out, like I gotta define what's virtuous exactly. Like acting in kind of like a noble way or whatever. Not noble, but like I gotta know what virtuous really means. Could you tell me?
Well, virtuous the opposite of the seven deadly sins are the seven holy virtues. So virtue is
Like,
the opposite of, you are doing what is absolutely right and
like in the
morally
direction,
good.
in the direction of the like the greatest good and shit.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So like.
So knowledge becomes evil if the aim be not virtuous.
Yeah, like that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. Like whoever said that, bro.
What's Plato?
Like, bro, I'm that man, bro. Like, cause that's what I meant earlier by like, you gotta think about, you gotta lead with the idea of what's good. Like, is this good? Is this good phone? Let's go on this phone, and is this good to be watching right now or whatever? Like, is this good to eat? Like, all that shit. Like, thinking about that. Like, if you're not aiming at, like, and that's where it's weird because like, people hate virtue signaling nowadays, but, and, like, that makes them cringe at the idea of virtue. But they have to understand that, like, virtue signaling, the way it's perceived, is like annoying and all that. Like, fuck all that. But
So,
like shoving it down people's
yeah,
fucking throats.
the way I always saw virtue signaling is like the other side of the coin of gaslighting, if you will. It's
Yeah.
like shoving that, as you said, shoving it down the throat of like the good and like, hey, look, yeah, but it's
But here's the thing why
the
people,
intention isn't good.
Yeah, and here's the thing why people sometimes hate it too. Besides just the fact that they're telling them whatever they're telling them, persistently, it's like they're wrong. Like, sometimes people are wrong about what the fuck they're saying. Like, they believe some twisted shit or whatever, and then, yeah, like, people can't, like, I don't know, they can't deal with that and shit. But I do agree with that quote where, like, wait, did it say that it automatically becomes evil, or?
Just says knowledge becomes evil if the aim be not virtuous.
Yeah, like, yeah, and that kind of depends on, like, that, like, flame or that internal indicator that you have. Like, if you're gonna, like, because everybody's gonna get knowledge, but what you do with it depends on that factor.
See, my initial interpretation was okay, so knowledge is power. With great power comes great responsibility. Shout out Uncle Ben. So, so like it's the same thing essentially of, because power can also be used in an evil way. So your aim needs to be good, and that's a great. There's a lot of fucking responsibility with being virtuous, with doing the right thing, and it's fucking hard.
Yeah.
But fucking, we were talking earlier too about you know, that balance, I guess, of consuming content, if you will, you know, scrolling on shit, watching shit, whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of just going after your things. And I forgot I had this written down, so bringing it up late, I realized. But Socrates said, employ your time in improving yourself by other men's writings, so that you shall gain easily what others have labored for. Which
yeah,
is,
AKA learn some shit.
Yeah, exactly.
AKA read a book.
But yeah, so that's why I'm saying things of like watching podcasts and, you know, fucking A, even watching people stream games.
Like, that is taking the advice of him.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are taking their, you know, even if their labors was how to fucking get a fucking royal victory or whatever the fuck it's called in Fortnite.
Yeah.
You know, that you're learning at least some that motherfucker probably went through some shit to, you know, so there can be value in it as long as you intend to use that value in some meaningful way, I guess.
Okay, like, it's really weird because, like, I would go on to put on the tail end of that, like, if you're going to use it to eventually help other people, like, to employ that in your arsenal of tools to help other people, whatever you learn. But other people would be like, help other people? Oh, I'm going to help me. Like, I might help other people to help me, but, like, no, it's just to help me. Like, I guess it's just being tapped in to that. Like, it is for you, but it's just about, it always makes me question that it's about, like, what your highest value is, I guess. Like, is yourself the highest value, or is other people the highest value?
Yeah, and to tie it all the way back to the initial thing of faith, of like, that's why, you know, in my opinion, faith is important, that you need to admit that there is a God, or as you just say, a greater good.
Hell yeah.
That you are not the center of the universe, that things don't revolve around you. And I feel like without the widespread, you know, faiths and such, a lot of people don't realize that there's this good, and they sort of default on that lowest common denominator of myself.
Yeah, they default on the, well, I determine what's good and bad.
Yeah, because it's my life, so it's what's good for me is all that matters, and
That's crazy
and it's
thinking, bro.
and it's
Like,
bad for society though long term, and it's even bad for you, but you don't realize it because the instant gratification
yeah, it
cycle
benefits
shit.
you in the short term, and then like, I was just having a very interesting talk with my brother about this, bro, about pretty much females and shit, like being dependent on him for happiness and shit, like etc. Why does that happen in general? You know, it's like, well, that's not just the females. It's that happens both ways and shit, and you know, it's like you got to figure out how to generate your own happy
Yeah.
state of being and shit.
Yeah, no,
Being
that's one
okay with
thing.
things and shit. Yeah.
That's one thing, and I don't know because I can't speak from the female perspective. So,
Right.
and I haven't, like, truth be told, I haven't read enough about the female brain compared to the male brain because I was going through shit and I need to
Yeah.
know more about my own shit. But you know,
Fair.
we were sold this idea as kids of, you know, by like Disney and all that shit of like, oh, true happiness lies in relationship, and to women, you know, oh, and you Prince Charming or whatever the hell,
Yeah.
and while there is immense happiness to be found there, that should not be your sole source of happiness. You should not rely on that. You should have other sources of joy and meaning in life other than just your relationship.
Well, like,
But that's not to say your
if
relationship
they're
and your partner is not shouldn't be important to
okay,
you.
what they should, what the male should do, the Prince Charming, the knight in shining armor, whatever, if you will, like, is, I like kind of told them this is like they have to instill that lifeline of happiness that they are currently attaching onto you. You have to teach them to generate that themselves. Like, you don't have to not be with them. You're gonna be with them the whole time, but you're gonna teach them how to basically tap into their own well or source to plug their lifeline of happiness into that they can turn on when they choose to, you know, and
Yeah.
strengthen that, condition that into them, not like always rely on them for the happiness, because that's like they're gonna naturally bring you happiness where if you lost them it would be sad, but like, you know what I'm saying.
But the truth is, if
A
you rely
dependency.
and you have that dependency,
At all,
if you have a dependency on another person for your happiness,
right,
you are inevitably going to face a problem with it.
that's what I'm saying.
Like, you
Yeah.
cannot rely on them for your
like
happiness.
like that's what I mean by like they're inevitably gonna make you happy. So if you lost them, you're gonna feel like bad. But like you can prepare yourself to lose them at any point if
It's
you
like
are
you need
that
to
type
be
of person.
mentally, I guess, spiritually mature enough that if you lost them, you will
You
still
can-
be able to
yeah.
be happy
And
and survive.
that's what
like,
we
yeah,
were-
you're gonna feel like shit, but it's like you're not gonna be.
That's what we were talking
rock
about. Is
and
this like
lost.
phenomenon of young couples that are like, I'll kill myself if you break up with
Dude,
me.
yeah,
That this is like, bro, this needs to not happen, bro.
and it's
It
because
makes me mad.
you know, I feel like it was partially because, you know, as kids, it's sold the idea of that's where happiness lies, and it's
Yeah.
like, no, that's
No.
not where it lies. There is a lot of happiness to be found there, and I do think it is. I think everybody should be in a relationship and have a family, and I think that's extremely important to happiness. But it's
Yeah.
not everything.
It's not
of
where
happiness.
it's found, bro. Yeah, like
it should.
It's not the destination to find it every time. You have to find it on your own, and the other person find it on their own, and then you can be happy together, bro. Literally, like if you're not happy and then they are, or like vice versa, then like it creates this weird dissonance between you. You know what I'm saying? Where like, well, it's the reliance basically, where it's like a pressure now to upkeep on
So like that's, you know, diving into it a bit. That's kind of why I feel like my last relationship got so bad is because
Yeah.
I feel like me and her both went into it with that your partner's for happiness,
Yeah.
and so when they can't provide that because life can get the best of you sometimes, and you don't want to interact with, you know, it's like, yeah, you're my partner, I love you, and you know we can hang out, but it's like I don't want to talk, I don't want to do a bunch of shit, I just want to fucking sit, chill for a
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah, I got
detox
it.
from life, and then you kind of start getting some resent because it's like, well,
You're not-
supposed to,
yeah.
you're not providing the happy because you can't find it outside of that person.
Yeah, because you were never happy to begin with on your own.
Yeah, and
That's the hard part.
you got in a relationship because you were like, this is what I need to be happy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And my girlfriend be telling me like a lot of her friends too are kind of in that situation of like
Oh yeah.
need to be in a relationship to be happy, but it's like, oh yeah, everything this person does is shit, and I don't want to be with them, and they're kind of a dick or
But you
not. But it's
hear
like,
that from like certain like females or like that have learned it or whatever, or even dudes like, oh yeah, like I was never happy in relationships, and then I like became single and I learned to be happy on my own, and like either I don't know if there's they could be still single or they found love or whatever, but it made it easier on themselves once they had to go into themselves a little bit,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. I got like what got me out of my last relationship is I got to a point so low where all of that shit just kind of made sense of like this ain't it, and it's because I sought happiness, and I had kind of realized that prior to like ending it,
Yeah.
but it was like I realized it and I was like, okay, I can try to make right. But since the entire relationship had been established upon that, I
You
felt
can't
like
like
there was,
rewrite it.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
you really can't. And so
I
I
get
was
that.
like, I needed to detach, I needed to go into the desert, if you will.
Right.
And I was content then with like, whatever. I don't need a relationship. I'm gonna just be happy. And that was a great fucking week, and so great. I was so confident in shit with everything that when I met my current girlfriend, it was like literally a week after, I was like a whole different fucking person, damn near.
Right.
And it's that clicked and that happened. I feel like because I was able to just be happy, be myself, and be more confident in who I was because happiness didn't lie in somebody else. It lied within myself.
Yeah, it's like a superpower, bro,
Hmm.
that people don't know that they have. Like that you actually control your reality to at least a certain extent, and that certain extent can be enough to like make you pretty happy. Like it's just it's pretty much like I thought about this like not too long ago. Like everybody like goes through trauma, right? Bad shit, whatever the fuck you want to call it, suffering. It's just like about if you get hung up on it. It's just about if you get. It's about how bad is it, and will you get hung up on it? Like let it fuck you up, and like it's really weird. Like everybody is just like hung up on. Not everybody, but like most people are hung up on shit, or shit is fucking them up, and it's like about getting rid of all that, or like doing that shadow work enough to free yourself from that those bad ways and shit like that. It's just it's like weird. Yeah,
And
it's tough,
it's weird too
but
because
I love it though.
I wonder because we've talked about how there's people who are different levels of thought and how much they
Yeah,
look into shit. There's definitely different types of people and the way that they think.
yeah, it's
And they can be
crazy.
archetype, but obviously everyone's a bit different. Anyways, though, I'm bringing this up because there's people like us, and I feel like I, got low and shit, and being bipolar makes it hard. I'm gonna have shit where it's like I will randomly be down as fuck and feel like shit, or I'll be pissed, and I don't have full say over it. And sometimes, if you are the type of person who overthinks shit, you have to accept that I'm going to overthink, let it exist, but don't let it affect you.
Yeah,
And it's such a fucking weird thing to think about. And
to like train yourself
yeah, to
and
train
shit.
yourself
Yeah,
with. So, like, if you're one of those people who it's like, oh, I overthink everything. I wish I could just stop overthinking. It's like, you're not going to just stop overthinking.
yeah,
You need to just accept that you are going to and not let it affect you.
yeah, yeah. Like move forward, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
for real.
And I also do wonder if, like, for people who don't think as deep of like that, of if they have their shit
Together
out of
enough.
line, is it more difficult for them or easier to realign? Because I can only speak from experience of somebody who does overthink things and just coming to that terms of it's gonna happen.
I think
Fuck it.
I put it like this, bro. Like if you're like, okay, you're like a metal beam, bro, and then you're aligned, bro, and then when those things knock you out of alignment, bro, you get all fucking crooked and shit. Like, some people get hung up when they get bent, okay, but other people get bent and keep moving. And like whether you straighten yourself back out is up to the individual. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you can go
Well, yeah,
through that
exactly.
shit, but you might not ever actually straighten yourself out, like from what you just
Yeah,
described.
that's what I'm saying. It's like, you might fucking.
Like you might carry on your fucked up ways that you act now because of your traumas or experiences forever. Like that might just you might not learn or overcome those things. I think that can happen to some
I think
people.
that does happen to people, and I think
Yeah,
that's sad
yeah,
when that does happen.
yeah.
Of
It's
you
tragic.
shouldn't let that shit define you. It's like these things happen.
They think that they're destined to it. Like they're cursed.
Yeah,
Like they curse themselves basically and think like, bro, it's like I have family like that. You probably have family
yeah,
like that. It's like crazy, bro. Like they think they just have to suffer, and it's like you don't have to
and
suffer.
that's it's the story of Jesus. Is you can come from nothing and you can go through hell, but you can come out on top, and
Yeah,
it will be fine, and you will be better for it as well.
right. That's
As
crazy.
long
Like
as you pursue what is morally good and virtuous. Um, and it's
that's what, and that's the thing. Like that, like oftentimes, like whatever, like those things are that they're bent out of shape about, like they wear on those people to such an extent where it's like you not choosing to do something about it is like immoral to yourself. Like it's hurting you.
yeah.
Like yeah, and it's obvious that it's hurting you, but you're not gonna do anything about
It's
it.
weird though because what doing something about it means is accepting that you can't do anything about it. Because what people will do is,
Oh, I know what you mean.
yeah, they'll be like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
can't fucking do anything about it. Fuck this." It's like, no,
But
but
they
your
know
mentality needs to be,
they know
"I
they
can't do
can.
anything about this," and that's okay because it happened. I'm not gonna cry over spilled milk, if you will. That's
Yeah,
that's the thing of.
I know what you mean,
So
bro.
yeah, it's fucked though. Doing something about it in a lot of cases is accepting that you can do nothing and to not bitch about it. I could sit here and bitch about fucking having bipolar 2 and it's fucking gay and whatever. Oh,
Yeah.
fuck this. It is,
Well, yeah.
and I just have to live with it. It's part of who I am.
Right. And my brother and I were talking about like basically like that shit earlier like or yesterday like what makes you who you are, yeah, but doesn't define you. Like him and I like we were talking about the ways we were raised, our parents, their behaviors, all this different stuff. All the things that would likely create these type of children or this type of individual, but the X factor is our free will or our minds or our
Well, even
ability
so, like the
to
same event
think.
can impact people in wildly different ways.
Right.
Like I can think of, family members from the same offspring, if you will, same, all went through the same shit, but it affected them in all wildly different ways.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yep.
that's fucking, it's weird. And what they all just kind of need to know of like it happened, and we need to move forward from it.
Right.
It's not affecting you now, and it there might be some, shit from it that
Right.
remains, if you will. Like, I guess, I'm trying to think of a good fucking example, but falling short with that. But, like, it may impact the way you look at certain things or how you go about things
Mhm.
because you're more cautious, because you're aware of what could happen. But don't let that stop you from future things ever happening.
Right.
Um, I guess, like, I hear, some people are getting like, all right, one of my girlfriend's friends is in a relationship, and it's like, oh, it's not great, but like at least he's not beating me like my ex was,
Oh
and it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. Like don't set your bar low
yeah, but it's
type
like
shit.
because you're setting the bar higher. Like at least they're not doing what the It's like no, you still need to know your worth, and like I deserve at least this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and it's also weird because you need to know that you're not perfect, so. It's weird. Know what you deserve, but be honest about it.
Right. Yeah, it's really weird, bro. Like
Yeah.
relationships in general just trip me the fuck out when I look at them for 2 seconds. It's like when you get to understand one deeper, and it's like whoa. Like sometimes people just don't seem like I don't know, they don't seem like they love each other or they don't seem like that connected or whatever. But they're just putting up with it because it's what they got,
I
and
feel
like
like I feel like a good
that's
amount of people too.
that's a lot of people.
Like I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah, a good amount of people too. They're just in a
It's just what
relationship
they
because they feel
got.
like that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be in a
Yeah,
relationship. That's what you need to be happy or whatever. Or that's just
yeah.
what you societally are supposed to do.
Holy shit, it's weird, man.
Not because I have a genuine connection with this person. I want to have a family with them, and it's
Not because like I've achieved like the divine union and shit, and like we're both gonna work towards like having a child and maybe like
yeah.
working towards a greater future and shit. No, nobody's like that,
It's
bro.
just
It's like,
like, oh yeah, well, society says I should have
we're
a partner and we should have kids and shit.
well, I guess want to go to the state fair. Like I don't know, like what the fuck, like is the depth of a family anymore? It's like it's just like there isn't really one. Like me and you lived in very similar situations where it's like like we did stuff together, but we weren't like that connected to
Yeah.
our the concept of the family and shit like that. Like it's really weird, bro. I don't know. I don't know exactly how
Well,
you grew
yeah,
up, but
and I
you
don't know.
know,
I was always close to like my siblings, but it was
yeah,
I didn't really have friends like that to be honest. Like I hung out with you and a few other people, but for the most part, it was like Dan and
yeah.
shit, and a lot of his friends are my friends now because of all that. But
Hey, you got the older crew, bro.
yeah, but because of all that shit, it's like I still didn't have that crazy super tight family shit,
Yeah,
and I do see the value of that and see where but it needs to be implemented properly. You need to actually care for the person you're with and all this shit, and you need to. There's so much depth. We could do an entire
it's just
episode about
yeah,
shit
it's
like
just
that.
in like oh man, like manipulation and shit too, like in relationships
And that
is
comes
just
back to people
crazy.
fucking, you know, only looking out for themselves.
Yeah, like they are the center.
They are the center,
Yeah,
but they're in a relationship because that's what society says to do, and it's
right. It's crazy. Yeah, and that's where like bro, you just bring up the idea of like principles or values to a lot of people now, and they're like, like it was kind of like Dan, be chill. Like,
yeah,
like bro, that's crazy. Like I don't know. It's like, what do you value? I guess like it's hard to say. It is like I don't have like a bunch of things, but like
yeah.
it's
I
just
mean, this episode started off with trying to quantify what it is you exactly value. And we went down a lot of rabbit holes, as I kind of figured we would.
hell yeah, still
Um,
good times.
and even still, with no exact definite answers in
Right,
some cases, and it's just because it's very hard to set in stone. This is what I believe and value,
right.
and I speak to like that's the importance of some religions to have that set in stone because if you have it written, you can be like, I agree with that, or I don't, or I agree with this if it means what I'm interpreting, and then you can. It makes the dialogue easier to begin rather than what do you value. I mean, Mountain Dew's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah. But
So,
like with the what I meant. Yeah, I guess what I meant by manipulation is a lot of different shit, but like you know it's that whole idea of like because they don't know why they're even there in the first place, like for that unity, that union, whatever, like to really help each other achieve something, etc. Like they use each other just to like literally for gain, bro. Like oh, you want me to do that, then like you have to do this for me and shit. Like I've seen
like
like
it's a deal.
transactional and
Transact,
shit.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
like I've seen that like growing up, like with just life so much with couples in my own household or elsewhere, where it's like it makes me like adverse to chasing relationships because it's like so much transactional shit, bro.
Yeah, well, as a man who, growing up, I always valued love and
Yeah,
all that shit, and I believe what I have now is, and like, because I've never had a connection like that, and it truly is something magical, and that's what makes me sad, honestly, that people are so transactional with it, because it's like you do need to figure out yourself a bit.
bro, it's kind of trippy that
And
yeah, like the saddest shit is like the shit that can make you the saddest is love.
yeah,
Like damn, the happiest thing too. The thing that can make you the happiest and the saddest, bro.
yeah, it's weird because
Bro, and that's what nostalgia is. Like, I don't know, I heard that recently, but it's where you feel happy and sad at the same time. And I'm like, yeah, that is actually exactly what nostalgia is, bro. It's like That's a weird thing. That's why it's such a
I mean, if you
powerful.
will, nostalgia is just you're jealous of your past self, and
Yeah, you're
I've
happy and
heard,
sad, bro.
yeah, I've heard fucking. It's actually in an Attila song. Fucking jealousy is just love and hate at the same time.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
straight up. That's
you
it's
motherfuckers
trippy.
want what you can't have, and you're butthurt about it, or some shit like that. Yeah, dude, literally, that's what
It's
nostalgia
it's
is.
interesting. Yeah.
It is fucking you. But you can have love without hate, my guys. Um, and
Well,
whether it be for
well,
something you want to do, and
well. I think there's also a duality even there, like because whatever you love, it has to be in opposition of, or there, yeah, it's in opposition of whatever it wouldn't be if you didn't love that. Like, so if you love, like, if I have love for you, bro, then I would hate not loving you. Like, I hate the idea of
yeah,
not loving you. You right? Yeah.
yeah, I get what you mean.
Hell
So
yeah.
yeah,
It's
but
having the correct love and hatred. For
yes,
real.
exactly.
That's
And it's
crazy.
like you need to hate. Okay, so like, to use that example, okay, I'd hate the idea of not having you as a friend, for instance. So I'm going to use that hate to fuel,
The loving things that you do for
yeah,
me or
to keep that
to
hate
me. Yeah.
away because I'm aware that it, you know, it
Right.
exists to some extent.
That shit's powerful
And
too. Like,
it's weird
damn.
too because you have to make sure that what you value from your relationship with somebody, be it like, you know, friendship or fucking I what's fucking actual
Relationship,
yeah,
like
that
intimacy,
intimate
intimate
relationship,
relationship. Yeah.
yeah, whichever kind it is, it's like you need to make sure that you value that person for that person, and you don't value them because I see
For a
friendships
thing,
like that too of
yeah,
like,
for a thing they do.
yeah, oh,
Yeah.
you're a good, or I value your friendship because fucking you're someone to kick it with and we can do this together or some shit. I guess you can make the argument, I mean more so like you provide this, it's transactional.
Right.
None of your relationships, friendship or otherwise, should be transactional unless what you're trading is love for the homies.
Yeah, or collectibles. But, yeah, but for
Fucking
real, it's like yeah, it's deep shit, bro. Like you gotta like understand where your energy is being put and shit like that, and like hopefully put it into the right pockets of
and you need to
you
make
know
sure you find people to surround yourself with that
care
want
about
what,
that.
yes,
Yeah.
and also yeah, that they care about that, they want what's best for you, and also that they want best for themselves. You don't want, it's not good if people are just like, oh, I just want, you know, fucking everyone around me to see, but I don't want to do shit. It's like push them for more too.
Right.
uh,
Agreed.
yeah, fucking A. Well, I mean, I had way more questions that we did not touch on at all, but we've been going for an hour 30 here,
We could
so
do a part two if
we
you.
could easily do a part two because there's more on faith and shit. Got a couple more quotes. We can get into some of it even in the after hours. You know, subscribe to Patreon for all that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, thanks for watching this episode of the Many Parallels podcast. Leave us a comment down below, you know, telling us your thoughts on all the shit we discussed.
Love thy neighbor.
Yeah, share it. Hey, if you're doing anything creative too, share a link or whatever. We'll check it out. Fucking.
We love creativity.
Yeah. Fucking hell. Discord a fucking thing. Get you on. Let's talk about some, promote your shit too. Drop a like if you enjoyed it. And subscribe for new episodes every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central. But yeah,
Hey,
thanks for
bro.
watching. We'll see you next week. Oh, the dog's coming up.
Oh, you just licked my nose. Ew.
See it?
Ew.